This video will be poorly done because I'm not going to do 2 takes because this is long. ATF, NFA, NRA, USA. The National Firearms Act, the Federal Assault Weapons Ban, definitions, and people lying about them. When something's politically motivated, reality is not relevant anymore. It's about win-win-win. Nobody wins. An assault rifle. Now I'm going to read the original definitions and then the cooked up definitions and such. Assault rifle versus assault weapon. Okay, assault rifles are military full and burst or select fire rifles that use an intermediate cartridge and a detachable magazine to make them much more effective in armed conflict such as a war. They're designed to have that ability because machine guns scare the hell out of people. It's a good way to get people. It's suppression fire. You're not really trying to hit anybody. You're just trying to scare them into not shooting. If there's so much lead flying over, they won't take the chance and fire back. It keeps them from firing. Usually it saves lives. That's what it's for. That's literally, that's for full machine gun activity. Triple shot is basically a way of taking a rifle or a pistol in 3-shot mode and making it act like a really low caliber shotgun throwing 3 ball bearings at you. Or BBs. Yes, definitions are fun. Let's mess them up. Here we go. That's assault rifle. That's the actual real term, and it's a generalized designation. Assault weapon is a term the firearms industry introduced by itself to build interest in new product lines. It was a marketing term. If you're in favor of gun control, somehow or other this being traceably true, a fact, an inconvenient one, will get in the way of you liking me. Also, it gets in the way of anybody who's against gun control liking me, because then you have to admit that it's something that the gun companies created because they wanted the word assault weapon because it sounds macho or whatever on both sides. So let's go on. Originally it was defined, or redefined, as any semi-automatic firearm. That word firearm doesn't mean what you think it does, or does it? With a large, vague term, detachable magazine. Detachable magazine actually makes some sense. It used to be you had to feed bullets into a tube fed, like for a shotgun, or into a magazine built into it. It was a magazine simply because it held more shots, and it wasn't a revolver or something held with a chain. It was where you put in the bullets into a mechanism, and it just held them rather than them being hooked up to tape or whatever. And I mean literally, you can use duct tape. That has been done, apparently. I didn't know that had been done. Anyway, I mean, I suspected, but never challenge a guy with a gun and a bucket of duct tape. But anyway, here we go. Next, and the ammunition, according to one of many original definitions for a assault weapon, the bad meaning, was it had to be for ammunition originally designed and configured to be used in rapid fire, this is a vague term, machine guns, for combat use with any of the following extra features. I'd love to hit pause right now, but let that sink in. It was based on any weapon that could take bullets that would work in a machine gun and make them usable, and potentially you could then, the presumption is, you could then modify the gun to be a machine gun. People obsess on rapid fire guns. They do have an effect. Fish in the barrel works, that's about it. And scaring people. Machine guns, low caliber machine guns, are a waste of ammo. That's my opinion, that's all. Here are the other features that were part of the assault weapon definition at one time or another. Sorry. Pistol grip. Yeah, having a rifle that had a grip that you would assume would only be on a pistol. Why would we do this? Because it makes it easier to hold and use the weapon and hit the target without hitting bystanders. Because that was the reason. So let's make it mandatory that if you do have a weapon, that might be used in a mass shooting. Let's make it inaccurate so you hit more people randomly. This is an opinion video. If it was not integrated with the shoulder stock, butt stock, other part, and if it protruded conspicuously beneath the action of the weapon, meaning it was a visually offensive item. If you want to, you can look up the minutes of these people arguing which parts should be excluded and the rationalization for doing so, if you want to. A bayonet mount, a mount for a little knife, a dagger on the front of the gun. Because Lord knows, in a mass shooting incident, going along and sticking somebody with a pointy gun bayonet is basically anything you would see normally on military weapons was thought to be something you should ban for civilian use. Okay? That's the rationale behind that one. Let's go on to the next one. Folding or telescoping or collapsible stock to make it easier to store or conceal. Now we have the concealed weapons idea. The idea is, now at this point, I'm trying to do these in sequence, they were trying to prevent people from being able to have a concealed large caliber high capacity machine gun. Because they'd been invented for military use and they did not want that. Something you could literally hide in your pocket that can do the same thing as a full-on machine gun. Pro tip, if you make a machine gun scale down to being this big, I don't want it. Again, this is opinion. Okay? RoboCop 3-shot mode excluded. That's actually okay. But again, why not just use a very small, capable shotgun and shoot pellets? Or just use a flechette gun. That's why we have 3-shot bursts and nobody does rock and roll except to suppress. But the folding and telescoping stock was to make it easier to pack so you could carry it and do it, from the hip. That and the fact that they were tiny, you added a stock to it so it was manageable to hold on to. You fold it up so you can throw it in a box. Next. Along with the gun grip, any forward grip, vertical, vaguely like a gun grip, a pistol grip, any additional ones, so that you could hold it at 2 points, so that you could control through these 2 points this way for sweeping motion, and for this way up and down, so you could level the gun at gut level and fire into a crowd. Okay, I'm not crib noting the discussion on the subject. Barrel shroud. If you don't know what a barrel shroud is, it's that big thing on the barrel of the gun, because the barrel sticks out from the mass of the parts, and it's designed so you can grab it instead of a foregrip. Aha, they're going to cut you off there. The reason is the barrel gets hot. So you can hold the barrel shroud. It's still going to get hot, but it's going to take longer. So the rationale somebody had, probably a Californian, is, well, if they're shooting, and they're shooting a bunch of people, we want to make sure they burn their hand. Or they would just make a barrel DIY barrel shroud. Is it against the law for me to tell you to Google it? Ironically enough, one of the barrel shrouds you can get is also another thing on the list. Suppressors. Flash or sound. Yeah, anything that would be used in the military was bad because it looks military. Including a foregrip, which would make it really hard for you to shoot accidentally or get your hand overheated by not having a barrel shroud. Okay, continuing. Any semi-automatic, read normal shooting version, just like a pistol should be, and a semi-automatic version of any fully automatic firearm. Because this would be a way to create a civilian version of a military version gun, so you could own one that looks scary but doesn't do any damn thing that the military version does. But it could, because it has a threaded barrel so you can put a suppressor on, and the holes and stuff for you, and the rails for you to put on your foregrip and your rocket launcher. But there's a real reason for this. If you simply take a fully automatic weapon and convert it to semi-auto, it's illegal as hell because it's really easy to convert it back to fully auto. And also, even if you try to make it not do that, a drill or a file or a chisel, and suddenly you can do it. Some of them were even sold with knockout pieces. I'm not kidding. A company did this, and immediately they were called on it, where if you hit it really hard with a screwdriver, it made it a fully automatic weapon if you wanted to put in the extra part. The part is a piece of metal this big. You could make them in a shop hundreds at a time and then hand them out. They wanted to make sure that didn't happen. Basically, the idea here is military-only weapons should stay military. If you try to get around that, which is what this probably, if we're trying to be nice here, the assault weapon ban was really about keeping companies from squeezing between the rules and trying to get around the laws and militaristically arm random people in the United States. Okay, maybe. Let's continue. Vertical forward grips are excluded, but not angled grips. What about death grips? Don't look up that music group. Anyway, next. Any pistol that was heavier than 50 ounces or 1.4 kilogram. Because it's not a pistol if it's that heavy. Unless it's a Desert Eagle or a freaking High Point. Because I swear to God, you can break your foot dropping one. But yeah, if it's obviously somebody scaling down a full-size rifle and chopping the barrel really short so they can make an easily carried, well, at that point you're almost making a pistol anyway. See also machine pistols, which are the little brothers to machine guns that are really worthless. They shoot pistol rounds way too fast. You have to have 3-shot mode. No, don't use the machine gun mode. And they ended up being involved in something strange. Accidentally shooting people. They were excluded because idiots, including cops, would want to own them in the old days, and you end up just shooting people. You end up with peripheral damage. You take them off the market. They're dangerous. They're worthless. They're more dangerous to the person not. They're only good for a firefight in a phone booth, was the joke about one of them. But anyway, let's go on. Any threaded barrel that would be compatible with, and then eventually just any threaded barrel, for a flash suppressor, grenade launcher. These are all called military-styled features. Now, the thing is, there's two ways of looking at this, and both sides are wrong. Excluding anything you could grab out of a military surplus bin only for military guns and put it on a civilian gun doesn't make it any more dangerous or any more effective in a fight. It might even reduce it. Next, there's a lot of things you want to put on a rail, like a flashlight or telescope, and on a threaded barrel that aren't something that's bad. So the threaded barrel and the rails are a stupid thing to exclude. And as for, again, the foregrip, if you have a really small weapon, the foregrip makes it more controllable, so you'll shoot fewer accidental people. Same thing with the barrel shroud. If you're going to shoot at rock and roll mode, at least you can aim it at one thing instead of hitting a random bunch of things because you couldn't hang on to it. Most of this stuff had a backfire effect, pun intended, that made it harder for people to get a weapon that would be safe in any way. The barrel shroud protects the shooter's non-trigger hand from the hot barrel during rapid fire. They will fire more. That's the idea. The pistol grip makes it possible to ergonomically position the operating controls for the other hand, so you can have one-hand control instead of having to use both hands. That also means that you can keep it on target. That also means if you memorize it by muscle memory, you won't accidentally take it off safety and shoot yourself in the foot, too. Folding stocks allow for concealment, but they also make it to where you don't have to dismantle it, so you can pack it away and carry it easier without having to put it behind that way you could put it in a case and lock it. If you can take a gun and fold it in half, you can get guns like that to where it's this big diagonally on the screen here. That means you can put it in a briefcase, but it also means you can lock it up and keep your kid from getting a hold of it. Then they have a bunch of rules about how they define things. They will be included below. I just wanted to cover this aspect of it. I'll do a video on the definitions later, but the reasoning behind it wasn't necessarily unreasonable, but it wasn't necessarily reasonable either. Some of it's safety features, some of it's reactionary BS. This is a very cloudy subject, and neither side is going to tell you the whole story because they don't care. The greatest way to destroy truth, fact, and reason is to try to make a law, I swear. Anyway, most of this stuff isn't valid anymore, and you can do whatever you want to these days. And you always could if you just paid a tax. That's it. You had to just pay more to have the illegal version of it.